Rama Rama. Continue reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 1, Text 19. Tva abjana bhangri saroja kosha.
Abjanabhangri saroja kosha.
Durga Shrito Nirjita Sat Sapatnaha.
Durga Shrito Nirjita Sat Sapatnaha.
Bhukshve Bhogan Purushaditishta.
Bhukshveha Bhogan Purushatidistan.
Vimokta Sangha Prakritim Bhajasva.
Vimokta Sangha Prakritim Bhajasva.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Lord Brahma continued, my dear Priyamra, seek shelter inside the opening in the lotus feet of the Lord, whose navel is also like a lotus. Thus conquer the 6 sense organs, the mind and knowledge acquiring senses, accept material enjoyment because the Lord extraordinarily has ordered you to do this. You will thus always be liberated from material association and be able to carry out the Lord's orders in your constitutional position. Did we do this yesterday? Again, said the yogis.
No, I don't think we have done this.
No? Okay. All right. Thank you. So there are 3 kinds of men within this material world. Those who are trying to enjoy the senses to the utmost are called karmis. Above them are the jnanis, who try to conquer the urges of the senses. And above them are the yogis, who have already conquered the senses. So Prabhupada is explaining 3 types of people. One, those who want to enjoy the senses. Others, those who want to renounce the world, they are the jnanis. And then those who have controlled their senses, those are the yogis. None of them, however, are situated in a transcendental position. Only devotees who belong to none of the above mentioned groups are transcendental. As explained in Bhagavad Gita 14:26. Mamcha yogya vichare na bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityayitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstance, at once transcend the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. So the pure devotee, he is on the Brahman platform. He's understood he's the Brahman. Means he's understood he's the spirit soul that is liberated. He's understood he's not the Para Brahman. There is a difference between Para Brahman and Brahman. Brahman, individual soul. Para Brahman, the supreme soul. So when one understands that I am the soul, then what does he do? He engages in devotional service to God. He understands he has a duty towards God. So he engages to serve God. And that is spiritual. It's not material. So there's such a devotee, he is above the modes of nature. Above this goodness, passion, and ignorance. He's on the spiritual platform. Lord Brahma herein advises Priyavrat to remain transcendental in the fortress, not of family life, but of the lotus feet of the Lord. Abja Nabhangri Saroja. When a bumblebee enters the opening of a lotus flower and drinks its honey, it is fully protected by the petals of the lotus. The bee is undisturbed by sunshine and other external influences. Similarly, one who always seeks shelter at the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead is protected from all dangers. So Prabhupada is pointing out just as the bee is protected, by the petals of the lotus when it's drinking the honey. So the devotee who's taken complete shelter of the lotus feet of God, lotus feet of Krishna, he is protected. Krishna is also saying in Bhagavad Gita, just surrender unto me and I will deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So lotus feet of God, taking shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna. It is therefore said in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 14, Text 58. Samashitaye padapallavaplavo mahal padam punyayasho murare bhavam buddhirvatsa padam param padam yad vipadah natesha. One who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, everything becomes easier. Indeed, even crossing the great ocean of nations, Bhavam Buddhi, is exactly like crossing the hoof print created by a calf, Vatsapadam. For such a devotee, there is no question of remaining in a place where every step is dangerous. So the pure devotee, he's taken shelter of God, he's dependent on God. So everything gets easier, just like a child, he understands he does not have the capacity to reach out something which is kept very high or to like lift very heavy weights. So he depends on his father and it becomes easy for the child. So similarly, when we depend on our eternal Father, God is our eternal Father, Krishna is our eternal Father. When we depend on Him, everything gets easier. We may say, oh, why should I depend? How long will I remain a child? I have to grow up one day. I have to be an adult. But we have to understand, we spirit souls, we are eternally children of God. That's an eternal relationship. It's spiritual, so it's eternal. So what we have to do is we just, as the child is depending on the Father, we simply have to depend on God, depend on Krishna. Then we can easily cross this material ocean. And this material ocean is very great, very vast, very difficult for us to uh, cross this ocean. Just like, if we think we are going to swim across the Pacific or Atlantic, no matter how strong we are, how expert a swimmer we are, we cannot cross the Atlantic or Pacific Ocean just by swimming by our own strength. We need a suitable boat. Similarly, this material world is compared to a great ocean, and the Lord's lotus feet are the suitable boat. We can take shelter of the Lord's lotus feet. We can easily cross beyond this ocean. Crossing this ocean becomes as easy as crossing the hoof print of a calf. We can easily take a step. We are one step here, another step, we already crossed the hoof print. Hoof print of a calf is so small. So this is the position of the devotee who's taken shelter of the lotus feet of God. And then Bhagavatam is saying for such a devotee, there is no question of remaining in a place where every step is dangerous. This material world that we are so attached to, we have so much desire to be here, but we are not able to realize that it's a very dangerous place. Anything can happen. We can be thrown out of this material, this human body that we have. We can be put into another body. We don't know what kind of another body it can be. It could be the body of an animal or what, we don't know. So every step is dangerous. Our actual duty is to carry out the supreme order of the personality of Godhead. So we have many duties. We have our material duties, social duties, but our real duty, Swadharma, what is it? Engage in devotional service. Carry out the supreme order of God, of personality of Godhead. If we are fixed in our determination to carry out the supreme order of the Lord, we are always secure, regardless of where we are situated, whether in hell or in heaven. Herein, the words Prakritim Bhajasva are very significant. So hell and heaven both are created by God. It's under His jurisdiction. So if we can follow God's orders, wherever we go, we will be protected by Him. It doesn't matter where we are. Just like, ambassador, wherever he goes, he has the special protection of the government. So if we also follow God's orders, wherever we go, we will have the special protection of God. Herein the words Prakritim Bhajasva are very significant. Prakritim refers to one's constitutional position. Every living entity has the constitutional position of being an eternal servant of God. So we are spirit souls, and every soul, the eternal position of every soul is that we are servant of God. Jivana Swarupaya Krishna Nityadas, Lord Chaitanya begins his teachings with this. He immediately tells us what is our position. That we are not the body, we are spirit soul, and every spirit soul is servant of God. Therefore, Lord Brahma advised Priyavrat, be situated in your original position as an eternal servant of the Lord. So Brahmaji is telling Priyavrat, you are God's servant. So you act as God's servant. You follow the orders of God. And that is not material. It's spiritual. God is spiritual. We are spirit souls. So when we are following God's orders, that order is also spiritual, and the activity also becomes spiritual. So it's all on the spiritual platform, transcendental platform. If you carry out His orders, you will never fall, even in the midst of material enjoyment. Material enjoyment achieved by dint of one's fruitive activities differs from material enjoyment given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A devotee sometimes appears to be in a very opulent position, but he accepts that position to follow the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, like when somebody is in a very high position, could be in a company or in a government high position, they are given certain perks, certain facilities. Now, why those facilities are given? So that the duties can be performed well. So similarly, God's servant, a devotee, Krishna's devotee sometimes is given high position. Why? So he can do the duty well. Like Yudhishthira Maharaj, emperor of the world, is ruling the entire world, not for his own enjoyment, well, because Krishna wanted him to rule the planet. Therefore, a devotee is never affected by material influences. The devotees, sorry, the devotees in the Krishna consciousness movement are preaching all over the world in accordance with the order of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. They have to meet many karmas, but by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they are unaffected by material influences. He has blessed them as described in the Caitanya Caritamita, Madhya 7.129. Kabuna Bhani Vedomara Vishaya Taranga Punarapi Ethani Bhavi Morasanga. A sincere devotee who engages in the service of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by preaching his cult all over the world will never be affected by Vishaya Tara, material influences. On the contrary, in due course of time, he will return to the shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and will thus have perpetual association with him. So, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is not different than Krishna himself, he has given a blessing. He is giving a blessing that whoever engages in the service of Lord Chaitanya, what's the service? Yare dekha tare kaha Krishna upadesh. Giving Krishna consciousness to everyone, giving the message of Bhagavad Gita, preaching preaching the message. Such a person will not be overcome by the material desires. And on the contrary, what will happen is that you will go back home, back to Godhead. You will have association of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he becomes so dear to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You know, when somebody does something for us, then they endear themselves to us. You know, somebody's following what we are telling them, or, you know, taking care of us, or, yeah, following what we are telling them to do, then they endear themselves to us. So we can endear ourselves to Lord Chaitanya by following Yare Dekhatare Kaha Krishna Upadesh, giving this message of Bhagavad Gita to everyone. And like this, we can be under the shelter of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya is not different than Lord Krishna himself. So it means one can go back home, back to Godhead, by taking shelter of Lord Chaitanya. It is easier to approach Krishna by approaching Lord Chaitanya. Otherwise, it is very difficult to approach Krishna. Krishna himself says, one who is a devotee of my devotee is my devotee. One who directly wants to be my devotee is not really my devotee. So Lord Chaitanya, although he is Krishna himself, he came in the form of a devotee. He came as a devotee to teach us how we can become Krishna conscious. Did anyone want to add anything or comment? Anything?
Hare Krishna. Shilpa, we are
Krishna.
not, yes. So, we live in a family life and we are not always around pure devotees, and we may not know, if we are sometimes doing the right thing. We try to listen to our elders and we try our best to, follow their orders, but sometimes we are not sure that when they said something, should we be doing it or not, right? So how do we decide, is that the right thing to do if they asked us to?
So the principle always is to remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. So whatever we are doing, it's helping us remember Krishna or helping us forget Krishna. And we'll have to see, is it that what they're asking us is required to be done, and is it because of our personal things we don't want to do? Or is it that we think it's shouldn't be done? Then again, that comes a different question, right? Then we might need to discuss it with them, to discuss that what is our concern. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
And I think sometimes that instinct tells you, right, that things should not be done or something.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Sometimes our instincts tell us.
Because that is, I feel like,
That's-
Krishna directing us.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
true also, but we have to be careful. Is it our instinct or is it our mind?
Mhm.
Sometimes it could be our mind, but sometimes it could be our instinct. So we'll really have to self-reflect. Yeah. And of course, the more we hear and chant, the more help we get from Krishna then. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Shri Vachan.
Shri
Shukra
Vacha.
Uvacha.
Iti samabhihito mahabhagavato bhagavatas tribhuvana guru.
Iti samavihito mahabhagavato bhagavatas Bhuvana Guru.
Anushasanam atmano agutayavanta shirodharo bhagam iti
Anushasanam atmano lagutayatvanata shirodharo badam iti.
sabahu manam ubaham.
Sabahu manam uva.
Shri Sukadev Goswami continued, after thus being fully instructed by Lord Brahma, who is the spiritual master of the three worlds, Priyabrat, his own position being inferior, offered obeisances, accepted the order, and carried out with great respect. Shri Priyabrat was the grandson of Lord Brahma. Therefore, according to social etiquette, his position was inferior. It is the duty of the inferior to carry out the order of the superior with great respect. Priyabrat therefore immediately said, "Yes, sir, I shall carry out your order." Priyabrat is described as a Mahabhagavat, a great devotee. A duty of a great devotee is to carry out the order of the spiritual master or the spiritual master of the spiritual master in the parampara system. So here we are understanding Priyavrat, he's in an inferior position because not only is he a grandson, Brahma is his grandfather, but Lord Brahma is a spiritual master. And Lord Brahma is giving him, he's not telling him, oh, you do it because I feel that you should do it. Nobody's speaking out of their mind here. You know, Brahmaji is telling him very scientifically, do it because it's the order of the Lord. And that you can still remain in your liberated position. You're not going to get entangled. You do it as a duty towards God. So nobody here is speaking out of their mind, out of their feelings. No, they're just following God's orders. As described in Bhagavad Gita 4.2, Evam Parampara Praptam, one has to receive the instructions of the Supreme Lord through the disciplic chain of spiritual masters. A devotee of the Lord always considers himself a servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. So, das, anudas, anudas. That's what Caitanya teaches. That being the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the maintainer of the gopis, being servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of God, coming in the disciplic succession. Arjuna also did not want to fight. He didn't want to do his duty. But after he heard the Bhagavad Gita, he said, okay, I'm going to keep my personal feelings aside and I will follow God's orders. Here, Priyavrat also, he was like, no, I don't want to do this, because that was his personal feeling. After he's receiving this knowledge from Lord Brahma, this instruction, and Lord Brahma is trying to tell him that, it's your duty, do it. So Priyavrata is saying, okay, I'm going to do it now. So all this is on the transcendental platform. Nobody is saying out of their own mind or their own feelings, because our mind, our feelings, they can change, they can drive us mad. So they're all following God's orders. Bhagavan api manuna yathavat upakalpita achitihi priyavrata.
Bhagavan api manuna yatavat pakalpita pachiti yavrat.
Naradayor avishamam avisamikshamaanayor atmasam avasthanam.
Naradayor avishamam avisamikshamaanayor atmasam avasthanam.
Avan manasam shayam avyavaradam pravartayan agaman.
avan manasam shayam avyavaditam
Aritam,
pravartayan agamat.
Lord Brahma was then worshipped by Manu, who respectfully satisfied him as well as he could. Priyavrat and Narad also looked upon Brahma with no tinges of resentment. Having engaged Priyavrat in accepting his father's request, Lord Brahma returned to his abode, Satyalok, which is indescribable by the endeavor of mundane mind or words. Manu was certainly very satisfied that Lord Brahma had persuaded his son Priyavrat to take the responsibility for ruling the world. Priyavrat and Narad were also very satisfied. Although Brahma had forced Priyavrat to accept the management of worldly affairs, thus breaking his vow to remain brahmachari and completely engage in devotional service, Narad and Priyavrat did not look upon Brahma with resentment. They were not upset with Brahma, why are you forcing me? Oh, I don't want to do it. Now, they both of them are peaceful. Priyavrat is also saying, okay, I'm going to do it with happiness. There's no resentment there. Narad was not at all sorry that he had been frustrated in making Priyavrat a disciple. Both Priyavrat and Narad were exalted personalities who knew how to respect Lord Brahma. Therefore, instead of looking upon Brahma with resentment, they very feelingly offered him their respect. So Narad Muni is also not saying, oh, how could you? I'm trying to convince him and you're telling him something else. There could be sometimes such feelings arising, no? Oh, I'm trying to tell him something, you're telling him something else. How can you do that? But there's no ego, false ego involved here anywhere. We can see that, huh? Everyone is following the orders of God. So there's nobody's false ego coming in the way. And so that's why there's no anger, there's no envy, nothing like that is happening. Lord Brahma then returned to his celestial abode known as Satyalok, which is described here as being impeccable and being unapproachable by words. It is stated in this verse that Lord Brahma returned to his residence, which is as important as his own personality. Lord Brahma is the creator of this universe and the most exalted personality within it. So if we do research work, that who is the most intelligent, most capable person in this entire universe is Lord Brahma. He's after all creating. He's the one who's maintaining this. He's the creator. He's making sure everything is going on properly. He's arranged where the planets should be. He's managing to give us different living entities, our different bodies, which planets we should go to, which species. So there's a lot of work that he's doing. It's very important work. His lifetime is described in Bhagavad Gita 18.8.17. Sahasra Yuga Paryantam Aharyad Brahmano Vidu. The total duration of the 4 yugas is 4,300,000 years. And when that is multiplied 1,000 times, it equals 12 hours in the life of Brahma. So the 4 yugas, the Chatur Yuga, combined together is 4,300,000. That multiplied by 1,000, so 1,000 cycles of the Chatur Yuga is 12 hours of Brahma. That is 1 day, and equal is 1 night. Therefore, we cannot factually comprehend even 12 hours of Brahma's life, to say nothing of the 100 years that constitute his entire lifetime. So Lord Brahma lives for 100 years. In Lord Brahma's 12 hours, our Satyug, Tretayug, Kalyug, Dwaparayug, all these yugas are coming 1,000 times. We are barely living even 100 years in this Kalyug. For us to imagine, how he's living for so long, what activities he's doing is like inconceivable for us. So we may try to understand that, there's so many germs or insects that are born in our night and they die in our morning. and they have their full cycle. They're living their full 100 years. So time is relative to every species, every body, you know. So then, Prabhupada is saying, how then can we understand his abode? The Vedic literatures describe that in Satyalok there is no birth, death, old age, or disease. In other words, since Satyalok is situated next to Brahmalok, or the Brahman effulgence, it is almost as good as Vaikuntha. Lord Brahma's abode is practically indescribable from our present status. So Lord Brahma's planet is the highest planet in the universe. It's the topmost. It's next to Brahmalok. So sometimes Lord Brahma's planet is also called Brahmalok. Sometimes it's God. But this Brahmalok that's being called here, that is in the Vaikuntha. Therefore, it has been described as Avan Manasa Gochara, or beyond the description of our words and the imagination of our minds. So, what we have not seen, we are not able to imagine. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 2, text 26 to 27, thus describes the abode of Lord Brahma. Yadvai parardayam tad hu parameshtayam na yatra shoko na jara na mrityu narti na chot vekaha. In Satyalok, which is situated many millions and billions of years away, there's no lamentation, nor is there old age, death, anxiety, or the influence of enemies. Bhagavatam 2.2.26 to 27.
Hare
So here
Krishna.
it says, Hare Krishna.
I thought Brahma's, Lord Brahma's lok is known as Satyalok.
Yes, it is known
But,
as Satyalok. This
but then this is
Satyalok is not
another
known.
lok. Okay, so
No,
this
this is not.
Satyalok is, okay.
So Satyalok
This
is
is
the
not the
highest
one.
planet. I'm sorry.
So this Satyalok is not this the lok that Lord Brahma lives.
It is, it is. Satyalok is where Lord Brahma lives. But now we always hearing that Krishna is saying right from the abode of Lord Brahma to the hellish planets, its abode of miseries, birth, death, old age, and disease take place. But now here,
Yes.
this Bhagavatam, that's what I was just going to say, that, oh wow, here it's saying old age, death, anxiety, or influence of enemies is not there. So I think the way we could understand is that it's still there, but it's not as much as we are seeing on this earth planet. Because Brahma also dies.
Yeah. And
You know, he
it is
has
in
to
the
die.
material world. It is
Yeah,
still
it
in the
is.
material world.
Yeah. So it's like almost it's not there, but it is still there. You know, like how in some species, like in animal species, there's so much suffering. And in human body, the suffering is lesser, but it's still
Correct.
there, but it's comparative, you know, comparative.
Oh,
So for us, comparatively, if you look at Satyalok, if we compare with the earth, oh, there's no suffering at all. But yet there is. It's not completely absent.
no, yeah. Okay.
Manorapi Parinevam Pratisandita Manoratha Surarshi.
Manurapi parenevam pratisandita manoratha surasi
Ranumatte Nat Majam Akhila Dara Mandala Sthiti Guptaya.
varanumatte akhila dhara mandala sthiti guptaya
Ashtapya Swayam Ati Vishama Vishaya Visha Jala Shaya Shaya Upararama.
आस्थाप्य स्वयं अतीव विषय विष जलाशय शाय उपरदम राम.
Upararamam. Swayambhuva Manu, with the assistance of Lord Brahma, thus fulfilled his desires. With the permission of the great sage Narada, he delivered to his son the governmental responsibility for maintaining and protecting all the planets of the universe. He thus achieved relief from the most dangerous, poisonous ocean of material desires. Swayambhuva Manu was practically hopeless because such a great personality as Narad was instructing his son Priyavrat not to accept household life. Now he was very pleased that Lord Brahma had interfered by inducing his son to accept the responsibility for ruling the government of the universe. From Bhagavad Gita, we get information that Vaivasta Manu was the son of the sun god, and that his son Maharaj Ikshvaku ruled this planet Earth. Swayambhuva Manu, however, appears to have been in charge of the entire universe, and he entrusted to his son Maharaj Priyavrat the responsibility for maintaining and protecting all the planetary systems. So here Prabhupada is speaking about Vaivasta Manu and how Vaivasta Manu's son Ikshvaku was ruling the earth. But here Swayambhuva Manu was earlier than Vaivasta Manu, and he was entire universe. He was ruling the entire universe. Dharamandala means planet. This earth, for instance, is called Dharamandala. Akhila, however, means all or universal. It is therefore difficult to understand where Maharaj Priyavrat was situated. But from this literature, his position certainly appears greater than that of Vaivasta Manu, for he was entrusted with all the planetary systems of the entire universe. So Maharaj Priyavrat is not that he's going to become the emperor of this earth, but he is becoming the emperor of all the planets within the universe. So the whole universe has to be managed. He's going to become the king of the whole universe. So that's a big responsibility. Another significant statement is that Swayambhuva Manu took great satisfaction from abnegating the responsibility for ruling all the planetary systems of the universe. At present, politicians are very eager to take charge of the government, and they engage their men in canvassing from door to get votes to win the position of president or a similar exalted office. On the contrary, however, herein we find that King Priyavrat had to be persuaded by Lord Brahma to accept the post of emperor of the entire universe. The Prabhupada is pointing out, here we have politicians, even to get to rule one country or to rule one area, one small area in the entire country, how much people want it, and people can go to great lengths to keep it and to acquire that position. And here Priyavrat, he didn't want to be the ruler of the universe. And Manu and Lord Brahma had to really convince him. Similarly, his father Swayambhuva Manu felt relieved to entrust the universal government to Priyavrat. Thus, it is evident that the kings and executive heads of government in the Vedic age never accepted their positions for sense enjoyment. So Manu also is giving up such a great position, sometimes politicians, even though they may be just in a small area, don't want to give up that position because there's so much power, control, there's so much opulence. But here, Swayambhuva Manu is feeling happy. My son can take care of it and I can engage in devotional service. Such exalted kings who were known as Rajrishis ruled only to maintain and protect the kingdom for the welfare of the citizens. So we can see that their intention was not that I'm such a big king so I can enjoy, but the intention was how can I protect the citizens, because that is the duty of the ruler. The history of Priyavrat and Swayambhuva Manu describes how exemplary, responsible monarchs performed the duties of government with this interest, keeping themselves always aloof from the contamination of material attachment. So such great positions, we get attached to a small thing. We may be just controlling a household or a helper. We get so attached. Here they're like gonna control all the planets, all the living entities there. And they're like, okay, I don't want it. I don't want it. Why? Because I want to engage in devotional service. Material affairs have herein been compared to an ocean of poison. They have been described in a similar way by Srila Narottam Das Thakur in one of his songs. Samsara Vishanale, Divanishi hi achwale, Judai de nakai no upaya. My heart is always burning in the fire of material existence, and I have made no provisions for getting out of it. So Narottam Das Thakur, of course, he's taking our position. It's not that he is burning in fire of material existence. He's a pure devotee. He's showing us the reality of our position. Golokera Premadana Harinam Sankirtana Ratina Janmila Kenitaya. The only remedy is Harinam Sankirtana, the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, which is imported from the spiritual world, Golok Vrindavan. How unfortunate I am that I have no attraction for this. So even Lord Chaitanya has this mood that in the second verse of Shikshastakam, that my Lord, you are easily available in your holy name, but yet I'm so unfortunate that I have no taste for chanting. So Narottam Das Thakur is saying the same mood, that Golokera Premadana Harinam Sankirtan. This Harinam Sankirtan is coming from Golok. It's not a material sound vibration. It's coming directly from Golok Vrindavan, imported from the spiritual world. We import grains from one country to another. We import fruits. We import clothes. We import so many different things. So this Harinam has been imported from the spiritual world. And Narottam Das Thakur is taking our position that it's such a valuable, rare jewel, and yet we have no attraction. We are like counting, when will I finish my rounds? Do I still have to chant? And they God, why do I chant? So anyway, whether we feel like chanting or no, we should still chant. Like the medicine, we feel like taking medicine or no, even medicine is good for us. So we have to take the medicine. Manu wanted to seek shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, and therefore, when his son Priyavrata took charge of his worldly affairs, Manu was very relieved. That is the system of Vedic civilization. At the end of life, one must free himself from worldly affairs and completely engage in the service of the Lord. So Manu, he wants to go now and hear and chant. He wants to give up this management. He was doing it as a service to Krishna, he's doing it as a service to God, but now he wants to dedicate completely to hearing and chanting the glories of God. The word Surashivara Anumatena is also significant. Manu entrusted the government to his son with the permission of the great Saint Narad. This is particularly mentioned because although Narad wanted Priyavrata to become free from all material affairs, when Priyavrata took charge of the universe by the request of Lord Brahma and Manu, Narad was also very pleased. So here we can see how the etiquette is being observed. Nobody is trying to overstep anyone's authority. Everything is doing in such a respectful way. Manu is asking Narad Muni's permission because Narad Muni is Priyavrata's spiritual master, although Manu is the father, but he's not saying, oh, he's my son, so he should follow my order. No, he's being respectful to Narad Muni. He's taking permission of Narad Muni. So much etiquette is being followed, we can see, in this pastime. Itiha bhava sajaga jagati pati ishvarekshaya tiniveshita.
Vavas Jagati Pati Ishvare Chaya Adhini Veshita.
Karmadikaro khila jagat bandha dvamsana para nubhavasya.
Karmadikaro akhila jagat banda dvamsana paranubhavasya.
Bhagavata adi urushasyangari yugalana varata dhyana nubhavena.
Bhagavata adi purushasya gari yugalan navarata dhyanana no bhavena.
Parirandita kashayashayo vadatopi mana vardhano mahatam mahitalam anushashasam.
Parirandita kashayashayo avadato apimana vardhano mahatam mahitalam anushasasa.
Following the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Maharaj Priyavrat fully engaged in worldly affairs. Yet he always thought of the lotus feet of the Lord, which are the cause of liberation from all material attachment. Although Priyavrat Maharaj was completely freed from all material contamination, he ruled the material world just to honor the orders of his superiors. The words Mana Vardhana Mahata, just to show honor to superiors, are very significant. Although Maharaj Priyavrat was already a liberated person and had no attraction for material things, he engaged himself fully in governmental affairs just to show respect to Lord Brahma. We can see, Maharaj Priyavrat, he's doing austerities, he's doing his bhajan, he's completely dedicated to devotional service. Lord Brahma tells him, you come and manage the universe. And he's doing it. He's respecting Lord Brahma. Arjuna had also acted in the same way. Arjuna had no desire to participate in political affairs or the fighting at Kurukshetra. But when ordered to do so by the Supreme Lord Krishna, he executed those duties very nicely. One who always thinks of the lotus feet of the Lord is certainly above all the contamination of the material world. So Priyavrat is managing the universe as a duty to God. And when he's doing his duty to God, he's always taking shelter of God. He's depending on God. Lotus feet of the Lord. So we can see God has lotus feet. God has feet. God is speaking, so he has a mouth. He's a person. He's ordering. He's ordering that do this, don't do this. So he's a person, the supreme person, not ordinary person, supreme personality of Godhead, Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. So one who thinks of the lotus feet of the Lord, one who's always thinking of God, always thinking of lotus feet, always following the orders of God, such a person is liberated because he's understood his position in relation to God. That is liberation. Real liberation is when we can understand our position in relation to God. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Yoginam api sarvesham madgatena antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamo matapam. Of all yogis, he who always abides in me with great faith, worshipping me in transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. Bhagavad Gita 6:47. So here Lord Krishna is saying, who is the best yogi? So there are so many yogis, Gyan Yogi, Bhakti, Karma Yogi, Dhyan Yogi. Now Krishna is saying the Bhakti Yogi, he is the best, he's the highest. Why? Because he's always following my order, worshipping me in transcendental loving service, because he's revived his relationship with God. He's understood his relationship with God. He's engaging in that relationship. And we are saying relationship means there's two, not one. There's the lover and the beloved. There's someone who is giving, someone who's taking. It could change, the positions could change, but means there's two. When Krishna is saying surrender to me, means there's two. We are surrendering to someone. Right? So surrender to God, understanding God is superior than me. That is surrender. When we are understanding God's position, that, oh my God, God is so great, I cannot even think how great He is. I cannot even conceive His greatness. It's inconceivably great. Maharaj Priyavrata, therefore, was a liberated person and was among the highest of yogis, yet superficially he became the emperor of the universe in accordance with the order of Lord Brahma. So God wanted the universe to be ruled by a pure devotee. So he asked Brahma to convince Priyavrata. Showing respect to his superior in this way was another of his extraordinary qualifications, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 6.17.28. Narayana parasarve na kutaschana bhibyate swargapavarga narakesha apitulyartha darshina. A devotee who is actually advanced is not afraid of anything, provided he has the opportunity to execute the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Maharaj Priyavrata understood that it is God's order. So he said, so someone may say, no, I need to renounce the world, I need to renounce the world. But that becomes artificial because following the order of God is what is important. And here God wanted him to be the ruler. So he's accepting a very opulent position. Imagine being the emperor of the universe, It's such an exalted position. So this is the proper explanation of why Priyavrata engaged in worldly affairs, although he was a liberated person. So serving God in any position, using everything for the service of God. So the devotee is not afraid of anything as long as he can serve God. Also, only because of this principle does a Mahabhagavat, who has nothing to do with the material world, come down to the second platform of devotional service to preach the glories of the Lord all over the world. So the Mahabhagavat, the Uttama Adhikari, he is already liberated. He is in his relationship with God. But why does he preach? Why? Because it's God's order. That's why he comes to this material world to preach, to give us Krishna consciousness, because it is Krishna's order, God's order. So he's following God's orders. He doesn't need to come to the material world. He does not belong to the material world. But he comes for our benefit, following the orders of God. Did anyone want to add anything or comment anything?
It shows that how Priyavrata was really a liberated person.
Yeah. Yeah, right? Because we'll say, oh, no, we may artificially renounce, right? But he's like, okay, I will follow. To please God, I can do anything. Just like Arjuna also, he wanted to renounce. Then he heard Bhagavad Gita and said, okay, I will do my duty. So doing our duty for pleasure of God, we may not want to do our duty because we may find it troublesome. We may, have so many other expectations or something, but doing our duties for the pleasure of God. So we continue to hear and chant for the pleasure of God. Continue to hear from Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. Chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, 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 Hare Hare. Thank you so much. Shila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.